and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 174th episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. This is Jonathan's 52nd appearance on the podcast. For a complete list of his previous appearances, check out the show notes. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He is an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over 10 years, trying to help the citizens of that great nation, hopefully, talk pretty one day. And now, on to the show.
Yeah, we had to do this emergency podcast because, big news, right? I mean, people have been speculating about this for a while, so finally dropped the big news yesterday. So,
yeah, Biden chose his running mate.
So what's your initial thoughts?
Well, I think it's, I don't know. Depending on how you look at it, it's probably, and this is, this is liberal blasphemy on the Twitter of today. It looks like, but I would say it was either, I don't know. I would say it was either the best or the second best choice he probably was going to make.
But what was the second best choice, do you think, or the first best one?
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren would have been good on policy, but I can see a lot of reasons why she, was not optimal strategically, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I think, there's a lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff going on, for going back to the debates and everything, and the primary campaign, which was really contentious, and just the way she carried herself at various times and stuff, and the way what her priorities were and stuff. So, but yeah, I think she, by not. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm being incommunicable here for a second, but I mean, there's just so many things you could say about it. Really, it's just like, by not backing Bernie, by not providing a unified left-wing part of the party, by thinking that she could eke out a better deal for herself by backing Biden, or not withdrawing at the same time to counteract the effects of the other three candidates dropping out on the same day, basically. To unify the left behind Bernie, she, basically left a door open to splinter the left wing of the party, which meant that, well, it wasn't a foregone conclusion at that time, perhaps, because COVID-19 wasn't flying out of control at that point. But I don't know. It's, she handicapped the entire, not just herself, but I think she handicapped the entire left wing of the party at that point, basically. And, this is kind of the result of that. I think, one thing you can say about Kamala Harris is she's a much savvier, much more Machiavellian, much more, which is not, I don't mean that in a bad way. Much,
Mm-hmm.
she knows how to, play people around to do the party thing, I mean, my God, she landed the hardest blow on Joe Biden in any of the debates,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's sitting right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well played. I what can I say about that? Well done.
In hookup culture, don't they call that negging?
Yeah, I think she negged Joe Biden, and yeah, so yeah, that, I mean, all policy aside, which is kind of how we have to look at this, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know. I think she's just in a lot of ways, she's a better politician than Elizabeth Warren was. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I mean, we're even kind of buying into the Joe Biden limitation of the framework, where he said it was going to be a woman that he was going to choose.
Well, didn't he
And
even
so,
beyond that say it would be a black woman? That was what I was confused by, is because I didn't think Elizabeth Warren was even in contention, because I thought he had narrowed it further by saying it was going to be a black woman for sure.
okay. If he did say that, I didn't hear that, but I think that a lot of people had suggested that he ought to do that. And frankly, with the wrench that was thrown into this whole clusterfuck, which was Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of forced his hand. At that point, you've got to put a black woman on the ticket because, you know, there is some, I could see some African American voters saying, look, he came in on riding Barack Obama's coattails, and he got the nomination from African Americans in South Carolina, and now he's going to slap us in the face by choosing a white woman or somebody to be his vice president.
Mm-hmm.
I could see. I'm not saying a large number, because I think African Americans are the most consistently Democratic voting group in America.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see that being taken as a little bit of a slap in the face. Although I think there are plenty of young African Americans who probably would have preferred seeing, a left wing, whether it's a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren, rather than a Kamala Harris. But,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I can definitely see some proportion of voters saying, like, you came in riding a black guy's coattails, you got the nomination through black people voting in this one state, and now you're not going to choose a black person to carry on that relationship there. That could be seen the wrong way. And also, I think, Trump has clearly weaponized Kanye West's addled brain to be a distraction to try to split the African American vote, and we'll see how that goes. But I think putting an African American woman on the ticket means that when it comes to electoral politics involving African Americans, Kanye West is no longer the shiniest, newest toy in the bunch right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like he's yesterday's news now. So, but I mean, how that's going to work running, a woman from California who worked as a prosecutor and stuff. I mean, how that's going to play in the African American community, I don't know. I have a feeling it still doesn't hurt too much, but
Mm-hmm.
that may not be the job description that you'd be looking for necessarily, but in some corners. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts so far?
I was initially very encouraged, honestly. Like, I did not feel as encouraged when Hillary Clinton chose Tim Kaine. I think let
No,
the
Tim
record
Kaine.
show.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's obviously better than Tim Kaine in a number of areas.
Yeah, like when I heard Tim Kaine, I was like, who? Why? Like, I just didn't understand. I guess I understood the why in that it's a man, she's a woman. Let's reassure people that are like, a woman's in charge. Oh no. Let's put this boring white guy in a similar way that Joe Biden was picked. Honestly, let's be real clear about that. I think that had Barack Obama not been the first black candidate for president, I doubt we would have seen a Joe Biden picked to kind of reassure people. So I think that pick was probably in again the same line that Joe Biden was the Tim Kaine pick, but. I feel like it's a good move. She was not my favorite candidate, but I did appreciate things about her in the debates. I like her prosecutorial style. I like when she's on the dais in the Senate hearings. She made Brett Kavanaugh cry. You know what I mean? All this stuff. I like all that. I cannot wait to see the vice presidential debate between her and Pence. That is going to be amazing. She's going to wipe the floor with him. It's mother's going to have
Mike
to
Pence is lubing
console
up
him.
for the pegging that he's been begging to get for 4 years here, and she's going to give it to him.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's going to be.
This is
Talk
gonna be
about
awesome to watch.
Talk about negging. Yeah, it's going to be serious. But yeah, that's going to be amazing. I don't want. I dread for many reasons the presidential debates. I wish that they would not happen. Honestly, for many reasons. I would actually
probably everybody.
I don't think
Maybe.
anybody is actually benefiting. I don't think Trump benefits. I don't think Biden benefits. I don't think the voters really benefit. I don't really think there's anybody who doesn't know what they already think of those two. And I don't really know what they would have to talk about other than him like calling names and stuff and seeing which one can make it to the end of the sentence, remembering where they started. So I think we all know the score with those two, and I actually would like to see. This isn't my idea. I think I saw Bill Kristol tweet this out. I'd rather see 3 vice presidential debates than 3 presidential debates at this point, because that would be awesome. But yeah, I overall strong pick. I was very relieved he did not choose Karen Bass. She was one of the other people in the mix that was discussed. There was a
Was she the one with the Scientologist connections or something?
Yeah.
As both a leader in our state legislature and a representative of Los Angeles, my goal has been a simple one: to actually make a difference. So that's why I first have to say that this day and this new church of Scientology is an exciting moment, because I know your goal and your commitment is truly to make a difference. It is my belief that if we really want to change this world, it is important that we think about how we treat each other. We have to treat all people with the respect they are due as human beings, and we must fight against oppression wherever we may find it. That is why the words are exciting of your founder, L. Ron Hubbard, in the creed of the Church of Scientology, that all people of whatever race, color, or creed are created with equal rights. It's a remarkable credit to your church that this is part of your creed. The Church of Scientology, I know, has made a difference, because your creed is a universal creed and one that speaks to all people everywhere. I look forward to helping you bring about the difference for everyone in this city, this golden state of California, and from here, the nation, and from the nation, the world. Thank you very much.
We don't need that. We can just get that right out of here. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying. This election's already crazy enough without bringing the Scientology. Let's leave L. Ron and the things out of.
Joe Biden's already got his Mooney connections in South Korea here, doesn't he?
Who does?
Joe Biden and the Biden family writ large.
Oh, I wasn't aware if they had a connection to the Moonies.
Apparently they do. It's been going on for decades, apparently, for some reason. I don't know how. I've read about it before. I've listened to things about it before, but it's, the Unification Church of South Korea, where they hold these massive weddings where they marry off like hundreds or thousands of couples at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know they have connections to Washington because they own the Washington Times, the conservative newspaper there. But I'm not sure how much sway they have over the day-to-day. But yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I'm glad that we don't have to deal with the Scientologist connection. Stacey Abrams, we've talked about her before. I like her in a lot of ways. I think she also would have been a strong pick. I don't really like you've said, I don't know much about her beyond the fact that she, had this election stolen from her by Brian Kemp. And I don't know. I don't really know much else about her. I heard she's a fan of Ayn Rand, so I was kind of confusing.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up to get a little more depth on that. But yeah, I wasn't really too jazzed about her. But I think if it was gonna be a black woman, as he said it was going to be, I think Kamala Harris is about as well as you can expect. And I think anyone, you touched on it before, but the prosecutor thing, that is going to nag her, but I feel like that nags anyone that has that job. I doubt there's any prosecutor in America that could run for any political office that wouldn't be subject to the same attacks. So, and it's not like she built that system. She was working within it. You can say she did better and worse and this and that, but I think anybody in that role would be picked apart in that way. So that criticism is totally expected. It's not without merit. I think you do have to look at people's records, but I would challenge anyone to find a prosecutor that has their hands completely clean. So,
yeah. Well, I think there are questions about, some things like, I don't know. I was watching some clips about stuff with her and stuff, and apparently, I don't know. Somebody somewhere said that she had she had fought for cops to be able to turn off their police cams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then on Morning Joe or something, Morning Joe said she fought for police cams, and so I'm I think she said she fought for police cams. So it would be kind of interesting to kind of dig down on that a little bit deeper and find out exactly what position she had at various times and stuff. Or I imagine she was supportive of it, but it sounds like there may have been a case where she did something the other way. I don't know. Again, that's a little vague, and I probably shouldn't even introduce it, but I just heard some conflicting things tonight about different places where I was getting information there. So, I don't know. I don't know. Wasn't she on with like Charlemagne the God and the Breakfast Club there, talking about marijuana a few years ago, or like a year ago, and
Yeah, I think
she
we talked
said that
about
she
that
had.
during the debates. Yeah.
I don't remember everything, but I remember she said that. Oh yeah, I was just hanging out,
Mhm.
listening to
Snoop Dogg
Snoop Dogg, who
was not out yet with
was not
any
out yet.
songs.
Yeah, so I have questions, and
Sure.
number two, I think they say that she's prosecuted drug offenses, and I think they said that a Republican who was running against her had said something like he was talking about making marijuana legal, and somebody asked her about that, and she just started laughing like there's no way I'm making marijuana legal or something. So.
And welcome back. I'm Golston Dart, and tonight for Kelly DeMarco.
And I'm Edie Lambert. A top candidate for Attorney General is calling today for California to legalize pot, not just medical marijuana, but for recreational use as well.
Yeah, it has become a big issue in the race for California's top cop. And KCRA 3's Mike Lurie joins us now with more for Commitment 2014.
Well, Golston, a growing number of Americans favor marijuana legalization. 2 states, in fact, Colorado and Washington, already allow pot sales, which are heavily taxed and regulated. But is California ready to follow suit?
My position is it needs to be legalized.
Ron Gold, the Republican candidate for Attorney General, wants to tax and regulate the use of marijuana for recreational purposes.
Colorado is already beginning to prove to everybody that there is sufficient taxable base.
Gold wants to use the millions of dollars projected from marijuana sales for drug and alcohol counseling and for education.
In the face of grave danger.
We asked California's current top cop, Kamala Harris, for her position on this controversial issue. Your opponent, Ron Gold, has said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
That he is entitled to his opinion.
I don't know. You can hope that maybe, somebody has reached her on that issue, but, clearly Joe Biden doesn't want to make it an issue. It seems that she may not want to make it an issue, although, there's a lot of people on MSNBC and places talking about, this is a tremendous step forward. She's going to make Joe Biden confront the systemic racism and stuff. They're going to look at a lot of things and stuff like this. And it's like, okay, but if they're not looking at, drug sentencing, the war on drugs and all that stuff, then they're not really serious about racial justice on criminal justice issues.
Yeah, it would be very disappointing if the Democrats were outflanked by the Republicans on that issue. It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't mean it can't happen or won't. But if they don't seize that one, it's going to be a real lost opportunity because it's only moving in one direction. And if they can capture the zeitgeist a little better, I think they could really get a substantial issue that they don't have on their palette right now. So.
I don't know. I don't think the Republicans are ever going to go that far because they've,
There's a libertarian streak that definitely.
Yeah, and the libertarian streak never goes anywhere.
Ryan was the House.
It's kind of like,
Speaker.
It's like we've talked about before. The Republicans could have hit Obama on the drone killings and stuff like that, because the left wing of the party certainly was, and they were primed for it. But the Republicans, it just never entered their thought process that this is something that they could or should attack him on. I feel like that's kind of the same thing with medical marijuana or recreational marijuana or any issue like that. I think that even though it would probably be to their electoral benefit to make that an issue and to jump to the left of the Democrats on it, I just don't think it's in their DNA to do it.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right about that. But I looked it up, and Stacey Abrams said that Atlas Shrugged is one of her favorite books. Quoted here in Rolling Stone, she says, but not for the Paul Ryan reasons. There was something about how Ayn Rand highlighted the capacity of a person to be more than. So, whatever that means.
I don't know. Ayn Rand was as a person, she was a disaster.
Yes. Seen some interviews and I was appalled, but I've not read any of her giant books yet, but I've heard they're super boring. So
I tried to read Atlas Shrugged and stuff like 10 years ago, and I got about probably 500 or 600 pages into it, and then I just I got caught up in other books and I just never got back to it, and I don't think I really missed anything. I could tell it's incredibly didactic and stuff. I mean, she's just telling you what you're supposed to believe. It's just you're just getting browbeaten constantly, it's like a very formulaic Hollywood movie where the bad people are always bad in every way. They don't even satisfy their women really. And that just, that makes them worse. And the good people are good in every conceivable way. and it's just, and I mean, she's articulating a very specific type of good that she thinks, but it's, I don't know. Yeah. And, she's a hypocrite. She died on benefit of the government and stuff, which is something she'd railed against her whole life.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and as much as she's like such a right-wing ideologue and stuff, she was a devout atheist. So, she's a Russian refugee who came here, was a lifelong atheist, happened to agree about some things on, economics. She's basically, seems to have been a high-functioning sociopath or psychopath as far as regards to attitudes towards helping others, even though she was the beneficiary of some help in her life, I suppose.
Right.
Whatever. Don't get me started on it. The fact that Stacey Abrams enjoys her book in an unironic way is very questionable, I would say.
Right. But yeah, we don't really know that much about her, at least I don't, and she didn't really seem to have, I mean, she didn't, she had the election stolen, we all know that, but it shouldn't have been that close if she was going to win, you know what I mean? So it would have been, just like with Beto, I like Beto a lot. It would have been cooler if he beat Ted Cruz. I would have been much more on the Beto train if he'd done that. So same goes for Stacey Abrams. You got to put those W's up. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've taken a look at, I've taken the temperature on left-wing Twitter, and people are pissed and stuff about this, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know. What did you expect?
Yeah, who did we think Joe Biden was going to pick? Who do they want? Is it because they wanted Elizabeth Warren? Is that what the
and the thing is, I guarantee with a lot of them, if it had been Elizabeth Warren, they would have been bitching about the fact that, oh, well, she betrayed Bernie and look at how she gets rewarded. Yeah. And, oh, are you happy? Are you satisfied with what you did, Elizabeth? And they wouldn't be completely wrong, but it's just like, come on. Some people are just going to be mad no matter who it was. I mean, if it wasn't Bernie, and I agree. I think it should have been Bernie. I think, I don't know, Joe Biden is to some degree doing the woke thing of, yeah, I'm going to choose a woman. And it's like, and I think what has just happened here is that the centrist Democrats have played it so that the left wing of the party wanted something, and moderate African Americans of a older generation tended to want something else, and they've made a choice, and they didn't go with us. And that's a sad story. But we've got, what do we got now in America? 165,000 dead Americans right now. I'm sorry. Like, I'm past the point of where it's still a fun activity to engage in this intra-party warfare. And like, anybody on Twitter who spends more of their time bitching about centrist Democrats than they do about the fucking insanity on the right, like, I don't know, man. I just got to question your priorities. Like, it's, it's kind of like back when Game of Thrones was good before, the ultimate seasons and stuff, the final seasons there. Like, the whole thing was that it was always about, they're fighting, they're bickering and they're fighting and they're bickering and they're fighting within their human politics, and they're totally ignoring the White Walkers that are coming south. And then in the final season, of course, they totally like upended that whole metaphor because they just defeated the White Walkers, and then they went back to the human politics. But it's like, there is a time and a place for us to fight the centrist wing of the Democratic Party and to drag it to the left. And I think in the long term, it's going to keep going left. I think, medical marijuana is going to keep going. I think something looking like universal health care is going to have to be, I mean, after this COVID thing, I mean, that's going to have to become an issue. I mean, the environment is, I mean, these things, these are seemingly inevitable issues that are going to continue to go our way, I think. But to be using your public platform to shit all over this whole thing right now at a time when the party does need to unify. Sorry. It's like, we've got 3 months left. We don't have time for you guys to piss off enough liberals that, any percentage of them are like, I'm sitting it out, or I'm voting for, this, I'm going to go with the Green Party or something this time, or da da da. Sorry, this is not the year. We got 160 some dead Americans and counting right now. It'll be more by the time people hear this. But that has to be the priority. It's like it pisses me off that the centrist Democrats think they can do it without us. But any consideration for a protest vote went out the window with COVID blowing up in America the way it did.
Absolutely. Well, like we talked about, it really took an issue like that that you couldn't deny or spin, and it was kind of a threat to everybody in every community. It's the only way that, it's like, all right, this is a wartime situation, all hands on deck. It's time to put the bickering aside. So
yeah, but a lot of people are not doing that.
I don't know. I kind of expected some outbursts like this. I'm not entirely surprised. Are you? I mean, I think whoever was picked, there was going to be somebody that wasn't happy about some aspect of it or some vulnerability that they saw. So maybe that's why I'm a little more sanguine about this pick. It's just like, well, show me the candidate who would have been, uncontroversial at this point. Nobody would have pleased everybody. Yeah. I think at least they made a strong choice. I hate the no choice. I feel like the Tim Kaine was almost a no choice. Like it's almost just like a person in a suit. There you go. But like this is it. Whatever you want to say about Kamala Harris, that she's a little more than that. She's a strong personality. She represents a lot. She's got a strong style. Now I'm sounding like Trump using the only one of 5 adjectives I know, but
yeah. Yep. No, I think the strength, and frankly, I think as we get Donald Trump removed from the White House one way or the other, I think it's going to be good to have a prosecutorial mindset in the White House. And I think Joe Biden has said he won't stand in the way of any prosecutions that would go towards Trump, should they come. He's not saying I'm going to prosecute him or I'm going to direct my people to prosecute him, but I think having Kamala in there is going to send a message to the Justice Department that it is all go on prosecuting this freaking asshole. He's absolutely criminal. I mean, the number of crimes that he could be charged with just from the COVID thing, which would probably be the safest thing to do it on, but you could do it on almost any issue. But yeah, I mean, like negligent homicide, negligent manslaughter, willful negligence, dereliction of duty, treason. I mean, there's just any number of things. Yeah. And I think that, she's a person like it. I mean, if there's going to be debates with Mike Pence, not that the debates really matter. I think like to some degree, I don't want to be overly confident, but I think to some degree, it's a foregone conclusion. The Democrats, knock on wood that I'm not like jinxing us, but like they've already won. It's all over but the crying for the Republicans, like no matter what happens. But how confident would anybody feel if it was Elizabeth Warren going up against Mike Pence in the debates? She's a smart person. She's a bookworm and everything. And Mike Pence is a tool, but I feel much better about Kamala Harris in the debate than her. Not that it matters. I think the Democrat is going to win. I think, almost anybody could beat this guy right now. So I don't know. I think I'm just saying, I'm trying to look at the positives here. And I think that she is an aggressive, strong person with a, pretty friendly, pretty cheerful, pretty kind of like the happy warrior demeanor or something. And I don't know. I just don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, it's a sad story. The Bernie revolution seems to be over right now. It's not, it's going to keep going in the background. And I'm happy to see Cori Bush.
Well, I was going to say the squad all won their primaries, so they're all back to work. You know what I mean? So that I think it's bubbling. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to get over the top yet, but I think Bernie's taken the movement farther than it ever thought it could. I mean, I think the problem with being out front like he is on so many issues is that he might not be around or the leader of it by the time it gets over the top. But I mean, he put these issues and kind of put the groundwork for these other people like AOC to come in behind him.
Mhm.
I would not be surprised at all if she makes a run at it in 2024, regardless of what happens in 2020. So I would look for her to make a primary challenge, even if even if this does work out and Biden wins in November. I would still look out for her to do that in 2024. So
yeah, I don't know about primary, but she is definitely somebody that I could vote for in the presidential election. I posted a funny article or something on Twitter a few weeks ago that was like, AOC becomes the first woman ever to be encouraged to turn 35 or something. It's like, yeah, like she just goes from win to win in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not every member of the squad necessarily could I even say that about.
Mm-hmm.
But I like her a lot. She's great. She does a lot of good stuff. I think Rashida Tlaib also has really impressed me. A lot of people didn't like it when she said motherfucker or something about impeaching Trump. I loved it. That's what the party needs more of. So I feel like
didn't she say she was not supporting Biden though, or endorsing Biden or something?
Huh. Okay, I didn't hear that. I don't know what's going on there, but
yeah.
I mean, the squad is growing though, and like there's some good stuff going on there. I didn't love it. I think it was Ayanna Pressley endorsed. She was the one who endorsed Warren over Sanders. Didn't love it. Ilhan Omar, I think she sometimes rightly or wrongly, through some fault of her own or through no fault of her own, gets herself wrapped up in an issue where she speaks ineloquently and it causes more drama than she needs to be drawing at the time, I think. But yeah, I think AOC should just handle communications for the whole squad, perhaps. She and Rashida Tlaib, maybe. But yeah, I'm excited to see that the squad continue to expand, and I'd like to see that becomes a, some centrist Democrats say, they don't love the squad. I don't think the Democratic Party needs to have a Tea Party. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you think the problem with the Tea Party was, and there were several problems, but they were doing something different, and to some degree it worked, and to some degree it failed, but and their goals were quite often horrible, but on what aspect of them are, yes, they were bad, but why were they bad? Why do you object to them? So yeah.
But I looked it up, and Rashida Tlaib said she will not endorse Joe Biden because people in her district don't support him, but she's still going to try to deliver the district for him, and she's excited about Kamala. So I don't know what kind of game she's playing there, but
yeah. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? It's
right. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to make or break anybody.
He doesn't need her endorsement, so it's.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's like, yeah, it's a little bit, I don't know. She's got to do what she's got to do in her district, I guess. But I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. But I think he's going to win handily.
We can hope.
I think that even though there are structural, disadvantages, and Trump's, basically willing to tear up the goddamned postal service in order to, disenfranchise enough people that he can stay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's a fight we're having in Indiana now, because we're one of the few states that you need an excuse to vote by mail. I signed up before for the primary. I signed Ash and I up both to get our ballots sent to us by mail at the same time before the deadline. Ash's arrived the day before. Mine never arrived, and I submitted them at exactly the same time. Now we're seeing mail getting slowed down. We're seeing Trump's post office pick intentionally sabotaging the post office, canceling overtime, removing post boxes and machines. Like, one silver lining, I guess, is I heard that all this is actually deterring actual Trump voters from voting by mail. Who usually the vote by mail is actually pretty strongly Republican, but apparently he's like put so much doubt into the system that apparently a lot of Republicans are like, I don't know if it's safe to vote by mail. Maybe I just won't. So apparently some people are taking it a little too much to heart, maybe more than he even intended in his voting base.
This is yet another example of how the guy is a traitor or a treasonous person. He is willing to tear up any part of the American government or institution or national life that is necessary for his own nakedly selfish reasons.
Yeah.
This is not for the betterment of America. It's not for the betterment of the Republican Party even. It's all for Donald Trump so that he doesn't get dragged to jail in the next 6 months, 7 or 8 months or whatever, rather than the next, 5 years or whatever. So, I mean, he's willfully destroyed. I mean, there's not even the pretense of, what are they saying? They're trying to save money by cutting down overtime or something at the post office at a time when people are no doubt ordering things more online than they ever have before, probably because they don't want to go out and buy it. Right. It's like,
well, apparently the reason that it's in such deep financial straits is that unlike other parts of the government, they're forcing their pension to be funded for like the next 50 years ahead of time, which they don't require of other departments. And you know what? I mean, the government's supposed to do things that don't turn a profit anyway. That's what you have government services for. So don't tell me you have to run it like a business when you don't expect the same thing out of like the Defense Department. You know what I mean? Like who's paying for all these F-35s? What return on investment are we getting there? Like they never ask that question, but it's like, oh, the post office, you're not turning a profit. like who cares? Like they're not supposed to.
Yeah, and there's 2 points on that. Number one, I saw a tweet somewhere the other day that was pretty good. It was like, they talk about the post office like it's losing money, but nobody ever says that the Department of Defense or the Pentagon lost $7 billion last year. They say no, we invested it, we spent it, the nation's defense, et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing is all the for-profit places, like to my understanding. From what I've heard, they don't deliver everywhere. If you live out in bumfuck Egypt, somewhere out in the middle of the country, the post office is legally required to bring you your mail.
Yep.
Amazon's not. Amazon uses the post office.
Yep.
Nobody else necessarily is, as far as I know. And so again, this libertarian, let the private market kind of take care of everything and bring competition into it. It's not competitive to deliver to some of these places. It's not profitable. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I feel, knock on wood. I hope this desk is wood. Knock on wood. Bookshelf. That's wood. I don't foresee Joe Biden losing the popular vote, certainly, and I feel pretty good about his electoral college chances. But my concern is that it's even close. I don't want it to be even close. I want it to be such a blowout that there can't even be stolen, and that's what I'm worried about. I don't want him to win by a little bit, because that's dangerous, because we have 2 whole months in between the election and the inauguration, and the damage that a losing lame duck Trump could do is unfathomable, and that's going to be some of the most dangerous weeks in our country's history, I think, even with everything that's already happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be fascinating, like 20 or 30 years in the future, if we hear about what the thinking was in the military at this time, like how close we actually are to a palace coup or something like that, where he gets escorted out of the White House. I think if he loses the election, he starts fucking around. I'm not so sure that they might just say, you know what? It's November. We don't have to wait till January. This guy's just killing more Americans with his bullshit and, causing more problems. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It may be that nobody's thinking these things except me, but I imagine somewhere in the depths of the Department of Defense or the higher echelons or something. Who knows? Who knows what people are thinking or talking about?
Right. Well, as I've said before, Team Deep State, personally, for the time being. I don't know if I'll always be, but right now, Team Deep State, whatever that means.
Yeah, it's Politics is a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's I don't know. It's like, 15 years ago, I might have been one of those people who'd said, I'm going to look at all the candidates on the ballot and I'm going to find out what they all believe. And I'm going to, I won't just vote a straight Democratic ticket. And at this point, I'm like, no, why should I?
Mm-hmm.
The Republican Party, as much as they complain about identity politics, they are all about identity politics. If you're a Christian, that's your party. They're the party of Christianity in America. I'm not a religious
Mm-hmm.
person. I'm not Christian. I'm not. So I can never be the person that they are actually advocating for because they've made that central to the identity of the party.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever want to see me, if they ever want to get my vote, which I'm 99.9% sure that they never will.
I don't think so, Chad. You flatter yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think
I'm just saying they would have to
No
stop
offense.
being a religious identity group.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's out the window.
I mean, at the very least, that's the very bare minimum thing that they would have to do for me to even consider it. I'm talking about if I don't know, it's almost impossible to fathom. But is there a scenario where I would ever vote for a Republican again ever? It's very hard to conceptualize.
Well, I think George Will, famous conservative columnist for the Washington Post, has it right. Basically, he says Republicans up and down the ballot this year just need to lose everyone. I don't care, local, state, national, everybody, because they have to be taught a lesson. They have to be taught a lesson that you can't embrace a demagogue and form into a cult of personality without consequences. And that's the dangerous part about this election, is that if the Republicans get some sort of, inkling that this is like working, obviously the midterms were one thing and they got trounced pretty handily, although they got to keep the Senate. Thanks a lot, Joe Donnelly. But like, it wasn't only him. I shouldn't put it all on him, but he was disappointing. Like, if they learn the lesson that this is the way to go, that is the most dangerous thing that can happen. So they have to be just totally annihilated, just to learn that you can't do this. You cannot embrace. Because what I'm worried about, this is like beyond all the other things I'm worried about, a savvier Trump who doesn't say the quiet part loud, who is a little more smooth and suave and doesn't, shout his intentions from the rooftops every single day on social media. I feel like that authoritarian could really do a lot more damage in this, compromised Republican Party. So, don't think it stops here, Republicans. You've done this now with this one guy. Who's coming up next? Who's the next? Who's the next Trump? That's what I worry about. But
yeah, well, and I think even the people who at the beginning were saying that Trump was not a fascist and that it was alarmist and typical left-wing thing to call Republicans fascists and stuff, they've come around on it now. The Morning Joes and the Mika Brzezinski. Well, Mika's, she's a slightly different category than her husband, perhaps, but they've come around to calling him a fascist and stuff. But they still don't see that back in the early 2000s and stuff, when people were calling them fascists, they're like, that's unreasonable. We were the reasonable ones. Donald Trump's the crazy one. How could well, okay, maybe it was a little bit of hyperbole, but maybe did you ever stop to consider that maybe the left wing could see something in what you were doing at that time that led directly to this? I mean, I think
yeah, Joe Scarborough and them are only reasonable by comparison. And there's a robust debate to be had once this is all over about, who laid the groundwork for what, and the Never Trumpers and how much complicity they had in, teasing this for so long. And I'm fully willing to have that after we get this guy out of office. Let's focus on that later. Like, I'm totally willing to have that conversation and sort those bodies out one day, but you're right. I mean, they laid the groundwork for this. They set the stage for a Trump, even if it wasn't going to be him, someone else to take this to its logical conclusion, like starting with the Southern strategy, starting with, Richard Nixon, going through Reagan, going through Bush, both of them. It's like this is what they led themselves to this place, and there's a reason, like we've talked about, that he ran as a Republican. He knew he would never get away with this in the Democratic Party. So
yeah, and I mean the interesting thing is, like, one piece of reporting that's come out is that in both 2011 and 2013, Donald Trump donated a total of $6,000 to Kamala Harris's campaigns in California, and Ivanka apparently donated at 1.2. So, and they'll say, yeah, he was a Republican, he was a Democrat. No, he was a power hungry fuck who, was spreading it around to to leave himself options, whichever wherever he was going to go. And if he didn't feel like, I don't know, he put himself on the Republican side. There's a misattributed quote that says that he said that he was going to take over the Republican Party because they were foolish and they could be taken over. He didn't say it. It was a made up thing, but it's something that is very plausible. He didn't say it. Okay. But I think on some subconscious level, yes, he gave to Democrats and he gave to Republicans, and probably on issues like abortion and stuff, he could really give a shit. But, with his racial attitudes, with his, with various attitudes that he has, America first, this kind of stuff, he's always been leaning on the Republican side. And, and I think, if you really, I don't know, if you could really get inside his brain at the points where he was trying to make these decisions and stuff about how to run for president, like, I think there had to be a knowledge somewhere deep down that the Republican Party was ripe for this, and he would never have what it takes to do this kind of thing in the Democratic side.
Right. Well, Donald Trump has changed his, I think it was party affiliation 9 times over the course of his life. So I think that to call him only a Democrat before this is incorrect. I think wasn't he going to run on like the Ross Perot's like Reform Party or something at one point, like during like the 2000 or 2004 or whenever he was toying this in the past.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some theory that he was doing that to get Pat Robertson or somebody to run on that ticket or something to get him off the Republican ticket.
Huh.
I don't know. I haven't fully investigated that,
but yeah, you're right. He has no core convictions. It's just about whoever is going to work out best for him. So yeah.
Well, I mean, he has core convictions in that he wants to discriminate against people of color, and he wants to treat women like shit.
Well, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I guess he does have those.
I mean, and those are just two things that are generally, not always, but not usually going to fly on the Democratic side.
Sure.
And by comparison, they're always going to fly on the Republican side, and he knows it. So
Absolutely.
He knows which side of the bread the butter is on, or he knows which side his bread is buttered on, or however the expression goes.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw his remarks about Joe Biden choosing Kamala Harris, and he said, he seemed a little bit like he was low energy. He seemed a little bit resigned or something, and he made his complaint. So she was very nasty to Brett Kavanaugh in the hearings. He's now the Supreme Court justice, but she was very nasty to him, and I think part of the brilliance here is, and I think another reason why it was a smart idea to pick a woman of color, is that Donald Trump can't help himself. He needs to insult her.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be able to control himself. And it's going to be a full-time job from everybody around him. The ones who aren't egging him on, like Steve Miller or whoever, like to keep him from sticking his foot in his mouth regarding her, whether it's race or whether it's gender. And so that for the next 3 months, that's going to be the full-time job, is to make him not get ugly towards her, which is what he, has a primordial need to do. and so,
Mm-hmm.
and so, I mean, he would do the same thing to Elizabeth Warren too, I'm sure, to some degree. But
Uh-huh.
I think I think it's also to some degree it's a great symbolic rejection of the Trumpist thing, which was that, oh, you elected a black president, well, we're going to elect a racist. It's like, okay, well, we're going to go right back and elect a black woman vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Your revolution is over. This is happening whether you like it or not, and we're going to run her and we're going to win
Yeah.
overwhelmingly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think there's a symbolism there that is important.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I was just talking about this with Ash. She is not quite as excited as I am. She thinks that it should have gone to a white man.
Why? Okay, why?
Just to reassure people, basically, because like I think her thinking is that the racism and the sexism in this country is too strong. But I feel that yes, while that is true, it's very strong. And Hillary Clinton definitely was handicapped by the fact that she was a woman. She is also a unique case, I feel. I feel like the
Yeah.
conservative hate for the Clintons, and especially Hillary Clinton, is like
Mhm.
white hot for whatever reason. And I feel like, yes, they wouldn't trust any Democrat. They wouldn't trust any woman, especially a woman of color. But I do think the Clintons have a special place in the conservative mind. I feel like
Mhm.
there's definitely a wing in that museum for them specifically, for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't. I think I have to respectfully disagree with Ash on this one. As much as I would like to see, a Mr. Bernard Sanders running as Veep and not,
Mhm.
I'd rather see him as president, but I'd take him as vice president here to unify the party, and not because he's a white man though. And frankly, he would be a much more controversial choice. You'd have the
Ideologically,
corporate
of course. Yeah.
you'd have the corporate Democrats in open revolt at this point,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
which that would be a whole other thing. I don't know. I think I mean, Kamala Harris is like it's like that Stringer Bell speech at one point in the Wire. Kamala Harris is a 65-degree day. Nobody gets too worked up about a 65-degree day. Everybody can agree on. It's kind of like this is the safe option. This is the one that the corporates can feel good about, the woke left can feel good about, and people who want to see Republicans get prosecuted and viciously attacked in debates can feel good about. It's unfortunate that her politics are not where ours are, but right now, I mean, the number one issue is stop Americans dying in this goddamn pandemic.
Mhm.
After that, we can push them left on other issues. We can make the, medical marijuana, universal health care, the environment, Green New Deal stuff. I mean, all those things can be pushed, and they'll be pushed more successfully under a Biden administration potentially than they will ever be under a Trump administration. So, finish this fight first, and then we'll move on to that fight. But,
Mhm.
she is the candidate that a lot of people. I don't know. The left wing has a problem with her. I don't know. I think we've articulated a number of reasons why I don't think now is the time to have that fight. And I don't think that choosing to make a huge stink about this is going to drive turnout. And I think turnout, like you said, I think it needs to be high. And I think this needs to be an absolute rout of
Yep.
the Republican ideals and representation in this time. So I think they're misguided in some way.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, vice presidents, I mean, unless you're Dick Cheney, a lot of times vice presidents are kind of, in the background waiting in the wings anyways and stuff. And it's an interesting question because Biden has hinted that he may be a one-term president. He's going to be a transitionary president or whatever, transitional president. So it'll be interesting to see if in 2024 he steps back and puts her forward to be the presidential candidate. That would be interesting, and it would be very interesting to see, like, on things like, I mean, I feel like we don't really know where her heart is on some of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's a black woman. She's going to have thoughts about criminal justice and stuff. She was working as a prosecutor. She's an extremely ambitious person. And then she was campaigning, after it became clear she wasn't going to be the presidential candidate, she wasn't going to win the primary. She was campaigning for a position as Biden's VP, and she got it. And so, of course, she wasn't going to break with him on issues like medical marijuana. But it would be interesting if she were at the head of the ticket, what would she actually be interested in doing?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think there's I think it's kind of 70-30 that Biden won't step down after one term, but who knows what his mental capabilities will be after 4 years of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think I think it's like 75-25 maybe that he doesn't do that, but there's still some chance that he might do something.
I could totally see him doing that. And I do think that's another asset that she has that I hate to say it, Bernie would not have is her age. I do think his age is a concern for people. He would be the oldest president to ever be elected at the time of his inauguration. And I do think
age or rage at the beginning there.
Oh, either, really.
Okay. I heard rage, but then it sounded like we were talking about age.
It was age, but yeah, I guess he's angry. Okay. I don't know. He does seem like he wants to punch Trump, but
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like she's in her 50s now, so yeah, I mean yeah, she's like 55. So yeah, so she's spry. She's she's and that's always the thing with Biden. I think if you want to get right down to brass tacks, even if you have concerns about his mental acuity, and I don't think it's wrong to question that. I think that is something you should look at when you're casting your vote. I always feel confident that he would put people around him in positions that I would feel comfortable with. Like his choosing Kamala Harris is evidence of that. And I think what he should do for these next couple of weeks and months before the election is just hammer home all of these cabinet positions that he's going to name and just kind of drip it out over time and just draw the news cycle out over that. And that's going to really show people.
Anytime that's the thing. That's why I wonder, because I feel like they actually went over the deadline to announce the vice presidential pick and stuff. I kept wondering if they were kind of like trying to wait until it looked like Trump was actually going to have a good news day or something, and then they were going to drop the vice presidential pick or something on that day to steal his thunder. But, I think Trump's good news days may be nearly over, although who knows, the race may still tighten in the last few months. We'll see what happens. But I think, they should keep a lot of good names or something in the hopper there. And anytime that Trump is like trying to change the narrative or something, you just drop one of them and say, oh yeah, this person's going to be education. This person's going to be interior. Mm-hmm. This person's going to be, HUD, whatever it is. Like, you just drop out some popular name there, and you just, keep him, look at people for the Supreme Court, maybe.
Oh yeah. See, Trump did that. Why can't the other side get that together? That's a huge issue. Let's make that the number one issue. RBG, hang on, baby. You can do it. Only 100 more days. Just keep your head above water.
Yeah, I talked to my mom recently and stuff, and we were talking about stuff, and I said, and we were talking about her. She got another cancer diagnosis recently. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I just hope she can hold on until January. And my mom said something like, well, I don't think they should even remove her in January, I think, or anything like that. I think it would be insulting to her, frankly, if they just removed her as soon as they got in. And I'm like, Mom,
Mm-hmm.
From the moment they get in, they've got 2 years maximum before there's a potential that this thing swings back like it did on Obama after his first 2 years, when the congressional and senatorial stuff goes back the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so, okay, if you want to wait 1 or 2 months or something, but we're not sitting on this. It's getting done. It's going to get done.
Do you blame her at all for not bowing out after Obama won re-election?
I don't know. It's frustrating in hindsight, and I think it was, I don't know. I think there's some argument that they would have tried to obstruct. I think, well, God,
they obstructed Merrick Garland for, I forgot this. Yeah, it was a year. I couldn't believe. I guess I knew that at the time, but I went back and heard that, and I was like, oh my God, it was. It was.
I mean,
It wasn't like a month before the election. It was in February when Scalia died.
Yep.
So it's ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, you could make an argument that they would have obstructed no matter what. But
Yeah. I do think that the fact that they had a nice round number, like a year, to talk about as a talking point, I think that helped them, initially decide on the plan before they got to doing it. But
mhm.
no, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm thinking, like, it would have been. Let me think about this here. Well, it would have been like what, 2010 or 2014? When was the time when the Republicans regained everything and held it that way for the next, like, what was it, 3 years or 6 years or something?
You talking about when they flipped the House?
Yeah.
I think that the Democrats had, because I mean that was when Obamacare got put through, was when they were still in the majority, and it
So would
might
that
have
have been
been.
like 2014 when it switched or something?
I think it might have been sooner than that. I think it was like 2010 even.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they had that long. I think it was just a brief window, and that's all they got through really was
Yeah.
Obamacare.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's health situation throughout her entire life, but it's hard for me looking. I mean, I wish they would have done something. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, right? But and I mean, no matter what happened there, what's his name? He was always going to die, right? So,
Oh, Scalia, yeah.
yeah. So there was no getting around that one. Although I don't know. But it's hard to go back, 6 to 10 years and say, hey, you need to quit your job, 6 to 10 years ago. Otherwise, you're never going to have a chance until 2021. Like, nobody could necessarily predict that. But
hmm
again, it's part of that larger critique that we have that, Obama basically squandered his first couple of years where he had majorities, and then he never got another chance.
hmm
So, but yeah, I don't much care about. I do care about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's feelings, but frankly, I think that when a Democrat takes over and when she is able to step down or is removed from the Supreme Court, well, she'll have to step down. I think she will feel a feeling of relief that will be very soothing, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know that she's going to take that as an insult. I think that she's going to say, hey, I held the wall, I carried the torch, and now my watch has ended or something, or
hmm
mix a bunch of movie metaphors. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think she will feel a great sense of relief when that is done.
Absolutely.
She'll
Absolutely.
know that things are going to be in better hands going forward than if anything goes the other way.
hmm Most definitely. Well, I gotta get going to the rest of my day. Any final thoughts before we go? I'm sure we'll have more to talk about, as the debates and stuff ramp up. But
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I I don't know. For people who are upset about Kamala Harris, if it wasn't going to be Bernie, who would you rather it would have been? And I've
hmm
seen some people say anybody would have been better.
no.
No, they wouldn't have. A lot of
hmm
them would have been worse. The only possible thing you could say that could have possibly been better, I think, is Elizabeth Warren. And even then, you've got a little bit of an uphill argument based on
hmm
her political instincts and behavior in the past 6 months or a year. So just be reasonable, be honest about what the options were going to be, and be honest about what the dangers of stirring up the base to not vote for this or to be too pissed off about this are when 160 some Americans are dead right now because
hmm
almost exclusively because of this administration. And at some point, you got to stop fighting other Democrats and you got to start fighting the Republicans. Because I swear to God, some of these people who are, left wing luminary thinkers, they keep their powder dry on the Republicans and they just unload on Democrats, 24
Tulsi
hours a
Gabbard.
day, 7 days a
Gabbard.
week.
Tulsi Gabbard. Sorry.
Yeah,
Getting too
it's
dusty.
it's like a cottage industry for these people.
I
They
know.
enjoy fighting Democrats more than they do Republicans.
And there's
And
nothing.
they
There's nothing the Republicans love exploiting more than that. Like they'll love to hold up the infighting, Democrats in disarray. You know, that's a lovely storyline for them to perpetrate. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because the Democrats are not a goddamn cult, but at the same time, we're, hold your outrage about Kamala Harris. She wasn't your first choice. What did you think was going to happen? Be realistic about how you would have reacted if it had happened. Elizabeth Warren's not some I don't know what the babe in the woods here, some innocent in all this and stuff. And she's done some problematic things. And her, I'm extremely frustrated with the bone they threw Bernie. I'm a little disappointed in Bernie for not, I don't know, executing a little bit more power politics himself, but, allowing himself to be satisfied with the committees or whatever, where they were doing the joint committees between the left wing and the mainstream. And then, in rapid succession, no marijuana, no healthcare for all, no this or that, all the things, any one of those things that they would have thrown us a bone on would have given, the Twitter sphere, or the other luminaries of the left wing, YouTube thought media, the fig leaf that they needed to throw their support behind this guy unequivocally. But they couldn't give us one fucking thing. And it pisses me off too. And there's a fight to be had for that, but that's a fight for another day. That's just where I'm going to leave it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for jumping on here on such short notice, but
Yep. Well, the world don't stop, Bob. We got to keep on.
Absolutely.
Jay-Z.
Sean Carter. But all right, well, have a good night there, Cha. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Yep, talk to you soon.
All right, later on. Bye-bye.
Join the Rob Burgess Show mailing list. Go to tinyletter.com/The Rob Burgess Show and type in your email address. Then respond to the automatic message. Also, please make sure to comment, follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review everywhere the podcast is available, including iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Twitter, Internet Archive, TuneIn, RSS, and now Spotify. The official website for the podcast is www.therobburgessshow.com. You can find out more about me by visiting my website, www.thisburgess.com. If you have something to say, record a voice memo on your smartphone and send it to therobburgessshow@gmail.com. Include voice memo in the subject line of the email. Also, if you want to call or text the show for any reason, the number is 317-674-3547. Until next time.